Hello everyone, my name is Gurpreet Singh and my seminar topic is Information Security in Libraries with a focus on a Toronto Public Library cyber attack as a case study. I chose this topic because our course is about the information life cycle and this incident shows what can happen when security breaks at different stages of that cycle. It also shows how a large public library tries to protect access and trust during a crisis. In this presentation, I will do four things. First, I will explain what information security means in a library context. Second, I will connect information security to the stages of information lifecycle that we have discussed in LIS507. Third, I will use the 2023 ransomware attack on Toronto Public Library as a real-world example of what we can go wrong and how a library responds. Finally, I will share key issues and the practical lessons that future librarians can use in their own workplaces. Information security is often described as protecting information assets from unauthorized access, disclosure, or destruction. In libraries, this includes both technical and human factors. We do not only protecting servers and softwares, but also circulation records, reading histories, staff files, and the systems that run public computers and Wi-Fi. Researchers such as San Nicholas Roca and Burkhardt show that information security in libraries depend on clear policies, staff awareness, and ongoing training, not only on technology. In other words, security is a part of every library work, not something separate that only the IT department handles. So now I want to connect this to the information lifecycle. At the creation and acquisition stage, security questions appear when we sign contracts with vendors or accept new digital collections. Are we checking how vendors handle data or what analytics they collect on users? At the storage and organization stage, catalog records, log files, and digital objects need to be stored on secure systems with up-to-date softwares and backups. When we move to access and use, public computers and Wi-Fi become high-risk points. Malware, keyloggers, or stolen passwords can expose a lot of information. At the sharing and dissemination stage, libraries may send data to third parties or share statistics internally. Without careful limits or anonymization, this can reveal more about users than we intend to. At preservation and disposal, decisions about what to keep and what to delete also have security impacts. All logs or devices that are not wired properly may still contain sensitive information. So security is woven through every stage of the life cycle. Modern library systems are complex. We rely on integrated library systems, discovery layers, cloud-based platforms, and many more different vendors. Fareed and colleagues, Khan and colleagues show that libraries often have written information security or digital security policies, but those policies are not always implemented consistently or updated regularly. What this means? This means that even when libraries understand the risk in theory, there can be gaps in practice. Staff might not be fully trained, software might not be patched quickly enough, or backups plans might not be tested. All of these creates opportunities for attackers, especially when libraries are seen as a part of critical public infrastructure. So now we're going to talk about Toronto Public Library cyber attack. So the Toronto Public Library cyber attack is a recent example that brings these ideas to life. On October 27 and 28, 2023, TPL detected a ransomware attack that affected its internal network, website, and public computer systems. Online accounts, holes, and many teacher services were suddenly unavailable. Later investigations by the Information and Privacy Commissioner of Ontario showed that malicious activity had been present on TPL system for more than 2 months before it was detected. The attack exposed personal information for thousands of current and former staff and some patrons. From an information lifecycle perspective, this incident shows how weakness in monitoring, patching, and legacy systems can accumulate over time and then appear as a major crisis. The case also shows how a library can respond. TPL activated a major cyber incident playbook, brought in external security consultants, and quarantined devices and servers. More than 200 servers were cleaned, restored, or rebuilt. Staff visited each branch to check hardware and reconnect systems safely. At the same time, TPL kept 100 branches open, continued programming, and offered manual circulation and Wi-Fi where possible. For patrons, the experience was still very disruptive, especially for people who rely on public computers for job searching, printing, or settlement tasks. However, keeping physical spaces open helped maintain some level of access and trust while digital systems were down. This case highlights several key issues. Technically, it shows the risk of running end of life systems and the need for continuous vulnerability management and monitoring. Organizationally, it shows how difficult it can be to understand the full scope of an incident and communicate clearly with the public. For users, the impacts were uneven. Seniors, newcomers, and job seekers who depend heavily on library computers were especially affected when online accounts and services failed. Some staff and users also were anxious about whether their personal information was now on dark web. Research on patron privacy, such as work by Hess and colleagues, remind us that privacy and trust are central to the library mission. A breach like this can damage that trust if it is not handled carefully. Now we're gonna talk about what research can suggest the library should do. So the literature offers several strategies for strengthening information security across the life cycle. Fareed and colleagues argue that libraries need digital information security management policies that are properly implemented, not only written and filed. Khan and colleagues emphasize the importance of regular risk assessment and investment in security controls. Ahmed and Rafiq show how digital preservation requires both journal practices such as environment controls and backups, and more technical strategies such as replication and media refreshing. San Nicolas, Roca, and Burkhardt focus on knowledge transfer and staff training. Their work suggests that security education should be practical, ongoing, and grounded in real tasks. Hess and colleagues remind us to center patron privacy whenever we select or configure new systems. Together, these studies suggest that security should be part of normal planning, budgeting, and staff development, not an occasional project. Now we're going to talk about implications for information lifecycle. So returning to the lifecycle, we can use the TPL case as a reminder to ask security questions at every stage. When acquiring new systems or digital connections, we should ask vendors about encryption, data retention, and a breach response. When storing data, we should think about system hardening, backups, and how long different records are kept. During access and use, we should design authentication methods and public computer setups that balance usability and security. For preservation, we need documented workflows that include periodic testing of backups and recovery steps. Finally, when disposing of data or equipment, we must follow secure deletion and decomposing procedures. If we take this integrated approach, we reduce the chance that small weakness will add up to a large breach. To conclude, information security is not separate from the information lifecycle. It is one of the foundations that allows libraries to collect, organize, provide access, preserve, and eventually dispose of information in an ethical and responsible way. The Toronto Public Library CyberAttack shows that even large, well-respected institutions can be vulnerable. But it also shows the importance of planning, communication, and resilience. As future information professionals, we can support this work by asking critical questions about security and privacy, participating in training, and keeping the needs of our most vulnerable users in mind when systems fail. Thank you for listening.